guys, welcome to Wealth Unlocked, the podcast that's helping you unlock wealth. I'm actually very privileged today to have Chris in the house today. Actually, it's his own house. We're in his building. So again, house, bro. Yeah, thank you so much. But we're powered by Rev Mortgage, and this is their studio. And I actually got the man, the myth, the legend to sit here with me. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for being there, man. I love seeing you guys here on Wednesdays.
We're here every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. I know. I'm surprised this hasn't happened yet because when I see people doing like podcasts or any, like I'm a fly on the wall. I'm a sponge. You saw me here when you were with Nadine. I love a good conversation around real estate, man. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. Last week was fun. I was me and Nadine were sitting down talking a little bit and got to pick little pokes at each other. So it was pretty funny.
It's funny because no matter how much you poked, you still had that reverence for her as your leader. So I saw you. I know you want to lean in and poke, but it's Nadine. She's
I got
the queen.
Respect. Yeah.
She's the queen.
She signs the checks.
Let's go.
So, but no, I'm super excited to have you because quite a few things. One, I want to get to know you a little bit better. We've kind of been coming here and there, but we never got to sit down and formally have a talk together. At the same time, too, being your business, you're the actual owner of the company. You have a partner as well. Yep. So I want to get into that, and then a little background just into kind of what the idea and the plan is behind Rev Mortgage.
Let's go.
Is what I want to learn about you. So let's kind of jump into it.
Yeah.
First and foremost, tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of like where you come from, things like that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for asking. So Chris Cano, Fast Attack Submarines out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, from the southeast side of San Antonio, believer in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, advocate of the VA home loan benefit, husband to Marissa, beautiful bride out of San Diego, advocate of puzzles, anything that works the right brain, left brain, a fan of going home at 4:30 p.m., beating 5 o'clock traffic, frustrated by I-35 traffic, CBC attendee, CBC church, and mild fitness guy.
Mild.
2 days a week is a success for me.
That's more than sometimes I go. So you're doing good.
Well, then I'm going to upgrade my mild to fanatic in that case. I'm a fit. No, I'm just kidding.
We should do a gauge of like the fitness, and we'll start with me, and then it'll be you, and then probably like Nadine or something. Yeah. I know she goes like every day. Yeah. So, okay.
So all those adjectives, it's funny because there's classes that we used to give in regards to introducing yourself, and it's always like, hey, I'm Eli, I'm a real estate agent. And it's like, it's never like, hey, I'm Eli, I'm a husband. Hey, Eli, I'm like our identity and stuff. So how do you, like, if I were to switch the question and ask you, like, how do you answer that question? Like, Eli, let's get to know you. Who are you?
So kind of, and it's funny that you say this because kind of like you, first and foremost, I'm a Christian. Yeah. I'm a husband to my wife, Sari, for 11 years now.
Congratulations.
We met in college, which is pretty crazy.
What college?
So it's actually pretty funny. It was Baptist University of Americas down on the south side of San Antonio. It was a theology school.
He had curfew, and she had to wear a long skirt kind of stuff?
No, we couldn't be in each other's dorms, but here's the little thing. So there's a window, there's a door, and there's a window. What I would do is I would open the window, I would turn the TV around, I would put chairs outside, and me and her would play old school Nintendo. Past curfew. I'm not inside the dorm, so I gotta wait. I found my loopholes.
Sinner.
So
sinner saved by grace.
No, it's a sinner that has a loophole with grace that can do other things.
Let's go.
So, but I would say, father. Hopefully, I'm going to be a father in the next coming years. That's something I was telling Nadine I'm praying for. Yeah. And I still introduce myself that way because it's something I'm claiming in Jesus.
Come on, man.
I am a realtor, but most of all, like I'm a little bit into everything, trying to start businesses and stuff, which is something we'll probably talk about in a little bit. Okay. But other than that, is honestly, I'm just me, just
good for
trying to live a good life and just
good for you.
Trying to just provide for my future family.
Yeah, that's good, man. Whenever I go to a networking event, whether it be a mixer or just, Gasaba, whatever. Everybody's got business cards. Everybody's talking about what they do. And it's white noise, bro. It's I couldn't tell you the difference of this realtor and that realtor. But when a real estate agent tells me, man, I am somebody that's working to have a child. I'm somebody that is married 11 years. That stuff sticks for me. Okay. It's the intangibles. And that's, I feel like real estate and mortgages can become an idol very quickly. We start putting it in the forefront of everything and
transactional.
And when you're introducing yourself constantly as I'm a realtor, I'm a loan officer, you start to believe it. And it's like, man, you're so much more than that too, though. So share that. you know.
That's awesome. I appreciate that advice.
Yeah.
So I do want to get to know you because you did with your introduction, you labeled a few things. So the main thing I want to go into is like the military stuff. Like, what's up with that? Like, are you retired?
No, 10 years and 2 months. So my father was a Vietnam sailor. Cool. I grew up on the southeast side of San Antonio, pretty poor, your standard like WIC, kind of family. Like, I think it stands for Women in Care. But we would get free government cheese. Like, we were poor.
They're still giving that cheese till this day. Did you know?
They still have that?
So here's the thing that you might not know.
Tell me.
Back in a couple decades back, we had made too much dairy. So the government, like just farmers in general, and the government bought all the dairy and put it away because they just bought too much. Until this day, we're still eating that same dairy source that we have from generations ago. I'm not even capping.
Real?
You can look this up. It's crazy.
Hey, who is that?
That's RJ.
RJ, is that real? You look that up for me real quick. All right, tell me, did the government buy a lot of cheese that we're still eating today? From how long ago?
I would say probably from like the 70s.
You tell me I'm eating 70s cheese?
Probably.
You viewers, y'all eating 70s cheese?
Yeah.
Comment below if you're eating 70s cheese.
You know what's funny is that in different countries, you can eat older cheese. They do that.
Really?
Yeah, you just cut off the top. A lot of cheese is like not moldy, but like what is it? The blue cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like old cheese.
You're telling me the cheese that I sprinkle on my carne asada is from the 70s? I mean, the 70s taco?
I have so much respect for you just because you put your cheese on your carne asada taco. So much respect.
Yeah, of course, bro.
So much respect.
Of course.
But,
cheese on anything.
So yes. So,
okay, yeah. So sorry, man. So,
I get distracted.
Born on the southeast side, following in my father's footsteps. We grew up kind of in poverty. So for me, I wanted to, one, honor my dad being a Vietnam sailor. Two, I also just didn't have a lot of options. College money wasn't a thing in my household, nor did I really apply myself. So at the age of 18, went and threw up my right hand, joined the United States Navy. They sent me off to Great Lakes, Illinois, did boot camp, and then off to Charleston, South Carolina, really a little town called Goose Creek, but it was Naval Nuclear Power School. So for about 1.5 to 2 years, I'm studying nuclear power, how nuclear engineering works.
That's crazy.
And I went on to become a nuke engineer in the Navy. So our job was to basically babysit a reactor. Nuclear reactors make steam where they create heat that we use to boil water. Most submarines are powered, or all submarines are powered now by nuclear reactors. So the reactor creates the heat makes the steam spins the turbine, which makes the submarine go forward. So I worked in the engine room, worked with a lot of the main engines, turbines, things like that. Did that for 10 years. And was like, that's enough, man. I'm over it. I mean, when people are like, why don't you do 20? I'm like, have you ever been on a submarine? Because if you have, you wouldn't ask me that. You would ask me, how did you do 10 years? I
was going to say, I'm claustrophobic. And I could not.
Bro.
Was that ever a thing when you were in there? Like, did you ever have like a panic attack or anything? Or you kind of got used to it?
I think there were like some mild freak out moments, bro, where like you're just on day 37, haven't seen any sunlight. You're at least 800 feet under the water, and you can always tell kind of your depth because one, there's depth gauges, but as a nuke engineer, we didn't really see a lot of that. But you would know because it would get colder, right? Because there's a lot of seawater that flows to the submarine through our pipes. We use auxiliary seawater to, make a lot of things happen. And so the deeper you are, the colder it is. So when those pipes in the submarine get cold, it means you're deep. And like I could literally wake up in my rack at whatever time and be like, man, we got to be at least 600 to 700 feet deep. And you're just standing there and you're like, no cell phone service. You don't know if the Spurs are, 3-2 in the series. You don't know how your brother's doing. And you're just like, get me out of here. Like it just hit a thought crossed your mind, like, get me out of here. But you can't. So you just deal with it.
What's the longest you've been submerged?
47 days.
Oh my God.
So when we would leave Hawaii, we would leave for like 6 months at a time. It's called a Westpac. So you get all your gear, you get all your stuff. And I mean, you have like, this table is probably a good representation of the size of like a bed. Actually, it's not as long, because like my feet would hit the other end. So probably about 6 feet. And you get about 5 or 6 inches of space underneath your bed to put your socks, your underwear, and other things. And so you pack as much as stuff you can that lasts you 6 months. And you also bring your beef jerky, your canned tuna, because you're going to run out of fresh food quickly. On a submarine, like we go through all the fresh produce right away, the milk, the cheese, which now I know cheese can last for 50 years. So I should have packed some more of that. But yeah, so after about day 20 or day 30 without seeing sunlight, without pulling into a port and getting fresh produce, the morale of the crew starts to go down pretty drastically. Start running out of clean clothes because you only get to do laundry once a week, and usually we're running drills on submarines. So if you're running drills on days that it's your turn to do laundry, you got to go 2 weeks. You turn your underwear inside out. Gross stuff like that.
Crazy.
Yeah. But it's not that gross. If you grew up kind of like a poor Hispanic family, like
turn them inside out.
Oh, we're turning them inside out anyways, bro. Like, I mean, when people were like, "How did you do it on a submarine?" I'm like, "Bro, my lifestyle on a submarine was better than in my little Mexican household growing up. I know that."
So how long were you doing that for?
I did that for 10 years, but in between, so I did 4 years on the USS Olympia. Then I did a shore duty at Pearl Harbor for 3 years. And then after my 3-year shore duty, I went back on another submarine called the USS Columbus.
Really?
And then I got out in 2011.
So when you say got out, like you're like part-time or like you're fully retired or?
It's not really retired. So most of the time it's, 20 years to be considered retired. Okay. I think now sometimes 15 they consider retirement.
But you're not active.
Yeah, I'm not active.
Okay, that's what I mean.
So
okay.
In 2011, met my ex-business partner who was doing mortgages, and this was still in Hawaii. And towards the tail end of my career, so like in 2008, I used my VA home loan benefit to buy a little townhome in Honolulu. I think it was like $420,000, which when I called my dad in San Antonio, Texas, like, "Dad, I'm getting a townhome for $420,000," like his head exploded.
That's
bro.
why I kind of went like, "What?"
Yeah. I mean, now in San Antonio,
every market's different.
Every market's different.
Yeah, especially
now
back
in
then.
San Antonio, 420 is not that scary. But in 2008, 420 was like, my dad was like, "Dude, you buying a mansion?" I'm like, "Dad, it's Hawaii. It's like a Cracker Jack box, So, I got into my first place, took some advice from a chief who was asking me questions like, "Hey, Cano, what are you doing with your VA home loan benefit? What are you doing with your BAH?" And before this chief, my father was like my example of financial anything. And my dad just wasn't the most financial well-off guy. Again, we grew up with government assistance. And so I took this chief's advice, looked into my VA home loan benefit, bought my first place with another sailor. We went in 50-50. We used half of his entitlement, half of my entitlement. He got kicked out of the military about a year after we closed, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, dude, we need to sell the house." And I said, "Hey, bro, no, we don't." I go, "We just bought this house." And with the VA loan, there's a 2.15% VA funding fee. So you're not really borrowing 100%. You're borrowing 102.15%. So I was like, "You think we're going to buy a house for 102.15%, have it for a year, and then go pay a listing agent 6% to sell it, and a title and escrow company 1% get our money back?" I go, "That's not happening, bro. We're going to have to keep this." And he's like, "Well, I got to move back to California. I'm going to use my GI Bill to go to college." And I go, "Go ahead. I'm going to put a renter in your bedroom, but we got to keep this mortgage going until we're not upside down on it."
Yeah.
And so we did, and it turned out that the renter who rented his portion of the house ended up paying more than he was paying, and that's when house hacking was born in my brain. I was like, okay, wait, maybe I should move out of my side and put a renter in my side too, because I could get more than what I'm actually paying. And then I was like, well, where am I going to move? And I learned about bonus entitlement. And it's like, well, you can move into the next house you buy. And I was like, wait, I can use my VA loan more than once? And you're like, yeah. So fast forward, man, ended up purchasing 9 homes on the island of Oahu that I still have today, still being rented out.
You still have them today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have them, still rent them out. All because one of my shipmates got kicked out of the Navy. I had to rent out his room, and this thing was born in my brain where,
blessing in disguise.
Yeah, wow, I can do this. This is a thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what year was that you bought it?
I bought it in 2008.
Oh, so it's been over
15 years.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Been a while.
So I think, and so that's one of the main reasons I want to talk to you, is because you're talking about things like using your VA to purchase a house, your bonus pay and stuff like that. What would you say is one of the biggest things that as a veteran they miss out on?
Yeah.
When he's talking about like using their VA and stuff to like build wealth, what are they missing out on? Because I know you do conference with us.
Yeah. That's a really good question. Really good question. And, one of the things that I think they miss out on is they miss out on their resources. I think whenever you're serving in the military, like in the back of your mind, you're like, man, there's things available to me. I got the VFW, I got medical, I got, but what about your housing, And so I think one of the things that the veterans are missing out on is they're missing out on where to go to get the information. And so like one of the things that Rev is doing, and if you didn't know already, Rev stands for Reaching Every Veteran. Like that's our DNA. We try to take the resources and make them exciting. You know, I try to think of every military member at the age of 23 or 24 with maybe $500 in their bank account. They are not going to go Google VA pamphlet 26 tax 7 chapter 4 credit and underwriting. Not going to happen. So I have to create a cool TikTok or be on an interesting podcast and hopefully somebody be like, wait a second, that dude said he has how many homes in Hawaii? You know, because that's what they care about.
Yeah.
Before they care about financial freedom at the age of 24, they care about, you know, what's cool. You know, they care about richness, which is usually a different measurement of probably how you and I may view it. And so I have to capture their attention to some capacity so that I can engage with them and get them to subscribe to the information that we're putting out so that we have a chance of even converting them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we walk them through the customer value journey, but military members are missing out on the information. And one of the reasons they're missing out on the information is because people who are putting it out aren't engaging enough.
Okay. No, I see what you're saying there. Because you have to, because like, honestly, I think a lot of veterans, because we're San Antonio, we're a veteran city. Yeah. A lot of veterans that I talk to, it's basically, I want to use my VA just to buy me a house. Yeah. And it's never above that, like building wealth or how can I get a second home or things like that. And it's just the base. They just know the basics that, hey, I'm able to buy a house because I can use my VA loan. That's it.
Yeah.
They stop there. And if they're able to buy their house, they're happy.
So on your show, how do you measure wealth?
So I measure wealth based on my freedom.
Okay. I like that.
So it's a big thing, and it's something I've struggled with for years. I'm 34 now. And so just like you, I grew up very poor. You know, I got that government cheese from a long time ago too. And my mom still works to this day. My dad's SSI. And so I didn't know anything about credit. I talked about this. I didn't know anything about credit. I didn't know anything about savings, passive income, none of that. So I had to, through my life, and one of the reasons I like doing this podcast is meeting people like you, because over my life I met quite a few millionaires and been able to sit down with them for like even just a second, just like, hey, what are some advice that you would give me?
Sure.
And based on those little things, being able for them to like just help me grow a little bit.
Yeah.
So for me, it's freedom, because if I'm not 100% worried about bills, if I have time to spend with my family and stuff like that, I find I've made success in my life. And so being able to be free from the worries of a lot of things is like, just like anybody else, first of the month comes around, I got rent, I got this to pay, I got that to pay. And I don't want to be shackled to that.
Yeah.
And at the same time too, like I was telling you, I'm thinking about the future for my kids and how I lived my life and struggled, and I want to not make it easy for them, but have opportunities for them, because I don't want to spoil them either. It's
good.
So I'm measuring myself based on the freedom I have as well as how much I enjoy my life.
Yeah. That's a good answer, bro. Man, I really appreciate that answer. And, you know, is it RJ? How old are you, RJ? 22. How do you measure wealth? Short answer, because nobody can hear you.
I would say the same, like freedom.
Okay, freedom. So we got a guy in the studio, 22, off camera.
It's RJ. He's actually one of our newest agents.
Is he?
Yeah.
Can we, Antonio, are you capable of imposing his head? Is it? Because
no,
this isn't live, right?
I'll take a picture. I'll put it up there.
Bink. Okay, yeah.
It'll be like the full screen.
Yeah,
like this
RJ.
is his head right here.
And then dude is talking about like the Wizard of Oz. But you know, I think for a military member, for anybody who's interested in purchasing a home, the one thing they have to do is they have to know why they're doing it, right? And so we talk about wealth, and people don't really know what wealth is, and people talk about financial freedom, and they don't know what financial freedom is. It's all just stuff that people say. It's stuff. So I teach people first, we're going to create a report card. Net worth is not a measurement of dollars or currency. It's a measurement of time. So if I ask you what's your net worth and you tell me, my net worth is $150,000, like you're missing the point. My net worth is 10 years and 6 months. If I were to lose my job today, my wife and I would be okay for 10 years and 6 months, right? So if you have $100,000 in the bank and your bills are $10,000 a month, you can live for 10 months with your $100,000, right? So when I talk to an E5 who just joined the military, he's only been in for 2 years, or I talk to a 22-year-old and they have $1,100 in the bank, but their bills are $550 a month, they have a 2-month net worth. And I'm like, you better get to work. That's not a lot of leeway to not make money.
If something happens,
you need to go to work. So I learned this early on, where financial freedom to me is to be able to have my money outlive my lifetime, right? So I would like my financial net worth to be something around 70, 80 years. So it gets past my life, gets into my kids' lives a little bit. Because guys who just have $3 million sitting around in the bank doesn't impress me when you know that they're spending $100,000 a month in debt, buildings, et cetera. That's how I was. I was accumulating a lot of things, buying buildings, buying real estate, without really taking a measurement of like, what is this doing to my life, my wife's life, our future kids' lives. So I think it's important that you first take inventory of what are your assets, how much do you spend a month, divide those two numbers, and whatever number you get there, that's how many months you can live without working, So we need to keep working. We need to get to work. So when I buy a home, when I'm investing in something, my wife and I will sit down and we'll be like, what did this do for our 10 years and 6 months? It moved us to 11 years and 2 months. Okay, great. Let's keep it moving, So we're all trying to get financially free, but if you don't really know what your report card looks like to do it, you're just saying it, It's just a cool thing you saw on TikTok or YouTube, financial freedom.
Passive income.
Stocks. Yeah, cool. Yeah, exactly. So having that guide, and man, from there, what I also did is I just started surrounding myself around people who knew what they were talking about. To your point, interviewing people who actually were doing it, started realizing the importance of a CPA and a CFO. My TurboTax turned into, CFOs, because I think like one of the most important persons at the table when you're talking about finances is actually an accountant. Yeah. It's not the guy or the girl trying to sell you stocks or cryptocurrency. It's the individual that's telling you the tax ramifications and the benefits of your investments. And I'll tell you this, and not to, I'm probably one of the most transparent guys, but this building that we're in right now, I pay $120,000 a year in taxes on. So $10,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. My mortgage on it's about $20,000 a month, and the triple net, so dumpster, electrical, everything is about $10,000. So $20,000 mortgage, $10,000 bills, $10,000 taxes. It's at like $40,000 a month of a nut, and that's a lot because I'm only bringing in about $24,000 in rent. Right, I charge Rev Mortgage $15,000, La Familia Church is like $8,000, and I got a couple guys paying me like $500 to use storage, but I still have a whole half of the building. Mm-hmm. So it's like, man, you're losing $17,000 a month there. And it's not, you look on paper and it's like, it's just not that because of taxes and the way taxes work. So go to my accountant, and instead of owing $120,000 in taxes, you start deducting all these other things. The next thing you know, like I'm on the Uncle Sam actually owes you $230,000. And my wife, bro, because she's the one who manages all the papers, she's like, wait, we got to get ready for this $120,000 coming. You got to get ready. And I'm like, I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, watch the CPA do what he does, And when he sent an email and he's like, this is what Uncle Sam actually owes you, dude, teary-eyed, because the way God works, bro, he's just like, always providing. Especially in a down market, because Rev's not crushing it like the mortgage industry was 2 years ago. And so, but you don't know that. You don't know that unless you're sitting with people who know that. Yeah. You don't know what EBITDA is. We don't go to accounting school. You know what EBITDA is, right? No. You don't learn today. So it's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's actually a really important formula that's used in economics. But if you're from the South Side, or you grew up in the hood, and you're just trying to get by and not get bullied because you're the poorest Mexican in Alamo Heights High School, you're just not learning that stuff. So luckily, Ruth Chang, who's an ex-CFO at AT&T, comes along your path, starts collaborating. And she's like, wait a second. You guys are doing a lot of great stuff for our military through mortgages, but your books look horrible. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, Ruth, what do you propose? And she's like, I got a couple of ideas, but it's going to cost you $200 an hour. $200 an hour? But let me show you how to make an extra $140,000, right? Like, it's stuff you don't think about. But as you're walking through this journey, when you start knowing what your net worth is, when you start knowing about financial freedom, it's like the law of attraction, man. God starts building your team, and it just goes from there.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is the not knowing, because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
And that was my struggle for a long. And there's still a lot of stuff, like when you're talking about the CPA. I'm actually looking for a CPA, and I found a few, and I'm just like, I got to do taxes because as a 1099 person, you got to like write stuff off, but you can't write too much off because if you want to buy a house and do all this, and I'm just like, this is so much, and I'm like,
so much, bro.
I was not taught this, and I'm like, I don't want to do this, and can somebody else do it? And
so what do you think happens to most people whenever they come across this is too much?
We just don't do it.
You just don't do it.
I'll tell you off the back, from me and my experience, I'm just like, I'll push it off till later, and then later comes, and then I'm like, it's even more now, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to do it now. And it just makes more of a hassle for me.
Welcome to why 60% of our city doesn't buy real estate. You know, is just too much. It's too much. Everything I just said for the last like 4 minutes on that little rant I went on, it's too much. You know, and that's my biggest like discernment when I'm talking to somebody about anything is I'm just like, how do I make this sound simple? But in reality, you don't want to make it too simple. I don't want to give false pretenses. Like owning a home is work.
Yeah.
You know, knowing good CPA is work. I mean, interviewing 3 CPAs to choose one, it's a lot of work. Man, I've bounced CPAs. Like I'll fire CPAs. You know, property managers are super important in my database. Like when I buy a house, knowing the rental market analysis on it is more important than me caring about my monthly payment. Like, you know, when home buyers go into it, they're looking at the backsplash, the countertop. They're like, you know, what school will my kids go to? Cares, you know? Like, no, it does matter. Not that it doesn't. But I'm like, your most important question needs to be, how much will this rent for when you leave? Right?
Exit strategies and stuff like that.
Exit strategy, period, right? And that's the cool thing about the military is they teach us advanced strategies, but they teach us 3 exit strategies for every advance, right? So if we're going to go in there, we're going to kill the bad guy, we're going to go through the back door. But what happens if there's 10 bad guys when we show up? Okay, we got to know where all exits are. And so the same thing with mortgages. I'm more interested on how we get out of this joint than how we get into it, you know? So what's the rental? What does, you know, the community look like? While people are looking at one house, most people look at things in the form of one house. I look at one community. You know, what HEBs are coming up? What does the new construction look like? What is traffic? How far is it to the nearest base? You know, especially for military members. And, you know, real estate agents are like, well, you're like 10 minutes from base. Yeah, maybe on a Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
Like
right?
when nobody's out.
Come on, man.
Everybody's in church. Nobody's out or asleep. And so there's no traffic.
No traffic.
But give it till Monday morning at 8 o'clock or something and just bam.
Exactly.
40 minutes.
Because when I'm doing homework on a property, I'm looking at the whole community. Because obviously, or not obviously, but usually if this house makes sense, then there's probably 7 other houses in the area that make sense because I'm literally studying that area. I want to know what's happening as far as gentrification, you know, development. And that's how it happened in Hawaii. You know, I noticed that on the west side of the island of Oahu, most soldiers who were stationed at Schofield Army Barracks were buying on the west side. Eva Beach, Mililani, you know, Kahala. Well, Kahala's on the east side. That was my first home. But so I was like, okay, well, if Army soldiers are going to the west side to rent, why am I not buying there? You know, so got to study, got to do your homework. It could be overwhelming, but if you get it done right, man, it could set you free.
And also having the right people to help you do some of that stuff.
Period.
Yeah, because we get a lot of clients, and I actually, you know, just like yesterday, I had somebody call me. Is like, hey, I want to buy a house. I'm like, okay, great, let's talk.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how long is it gonna take? I'm like, I need at least 20, 30 minutes of your time, if that's okay. And they're just like, oh, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can't help you make a really good decision without like sitting down with you, because it's not just buying a house. Because they'll see TikToks is like, oh, 0 money down and you'll get into the house with less than, you know, this, that. But it's like crazy interest payments, or the house is not in a good area, or that builder is not building correctly. There's all these other aspects of like buying a house, as well as like, hey, your debt to income ratio is a thing. It's not just your credit, and just it's a lot that goes into buying a house and building wealth in general. But I think it started with my generation. It's like the microwave, like easy type of stuff, and then it's just gotten further along.
Antonio, what's your screen time look like? Like if I looked at your social media screen time daily, do you know how many hours you look at social?
Probably isn't good.
Oh,
it's probably not good.
Mine's a lot.
Yours a lot?
Well, because I'm always constantly posting and doing stuff.
Yeah.
But like I honestly, I think I can.
You know what my question would be?
I would say it's a lot.
This is why I wouldn't be a good real estate agent. Because if somebody were like, how long is this going to take? I would probably answer, it's going to be less than the screen time. Less than your daily screen. Period. You're telling me that 20 or 30 minutes is too long, but you look at Instagram for 72 minutes a day.
And I've told people that sometimes, like,
it's disgusting,
I'm just
bro.
like, hey, you know, what if I can do this in less time than you're gonna go get a burger or something?
Period.
Like, okay, great.
Yeah.
And then we'll start.
Dude.
And he's just starting.
So it's not a timing issue. It's an interest issue. It's not that you don't have enough time. You're just not interested.
It's a priority issue.
It's a priority issue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's not a priority to you is because you are only looking at one side of the coin. So let's flip that coin over. What happens if you don't talk to me for 30 minutes? Tell me what you do for the next 12 months of your life. How much of your assets go to somebody else's mortgage? My mortgage. You know, and I tell people all the time, don't get me wrong, I love renters. They're paying all my mortgages for me. God bless you all. If you want to contribute to making my car payments too, I'll send you my address. However much you want to pay for me, I'm going to let you do it. But the reality is they're only thinking about whether or not they want to buy a house, but what they're not thinking about is what happens if they don't. Mm-hmm. Your kid is 6 years old today. In the blink of an eye, they're going to be 36. And I'm going to ask, you know, what will you wish you would have done in 2023 that you didn't do? And now that we're in 2053, you didn't. So this is 2023. So we go back to all the 1993 babies, right? And so we zip back to 1993. My dad's probably sitting in a mortgage office. My dad's probably, and he's doing something that's going to matter 30 years from that date, because wealth doesn't just exist for us. It's a generational thing. Mm-hmm. And so when a person doesn't have 20 to 30 minutes to talk to Eli, my next question is usually like, do you have any kids? You know, because you're making kind of a selfish decision. It's not just about you in this moment. It's about, you know, setting up your children for the next 20, 30 years.
You know, what really gets me is when they're like, well, I don't think my credit's good enough. Okay, well, let's figure it out. And if, when it comes back that it's not, I'll sit down with them. I even found a place that will do free credit repair for them. It's free, completely free.
Yeah.
And they are just like, well, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because it's more than me just making a transaction and making a deal to feed my family. It's more than that. Yeah. I see myself in them. Yeah. And when I got started trying to figure things out, and I'm just like, I've been through those hurdles. Let me help you. Like you can make a really good, because there's sometimes I've talked people out of buying a house because financially they're just not there yet. Yeah. Or another reason. And it's just like, you got to be in the game to understand how to play it. Yeah. And a lot of people, they're and it's not even a priority. They're scared. Yeah. And especially right now, like everything's scaring people. Is like, hey, you know, be scared to buy a house. Be scared to do this. Be scared to take a chance on yourself. Build a business.
Like, so what's the thing so you buy a house? Let's assume that you buy a house and you do it completely wrong. Like you're overextended. What are they scared of? Are they scared that they're going to get kicked out of the house?
It's
moving
probably
to the streets.
It's. So with the fear, the fear is a thing of an idea of you being scared of something that's going to happen that hasn't happened yet. So it could be many things. It could be like they're going to, you know, lose their job. Like that's been one. It's like, hey, I'm afraid that if I lose my job, I can't afford this mortgage. Okay. Another thing has been, hey, we don't know if we're going to be staying together for forever.
Okay, so let's do this. Hey, Eli, it's Cano. What's going on, bud?
It's going good. How's it going?
Hey, remember that house you sold me last year? And you remember when I was kind of like, hey, Eli, I don't know, because things at work aren't going so well. Well, the worst thing happened. I lost my job.
Wow.
Yeah. And so my mortgage payment is $3,000 a month, and I just can't afford to make these payments anymore. Can I move in with you?
Can you move?
Yeah. I can't call my parents.
Well, what we can do is I can help you. What we can do is sit down and talk about your exit strategies and maybe finding another place for you and maybe turning that house into a house that can benefit you.
Period. I mean, we didn't even rehearse that. So that's where, you know, just like Eli said, I'm going to hey, Mr. Cano, remember before you bought that house, you and I did this little exercise called the rental market analysis, and we knew that if something happened or you needed to leave that house, there were renters standing by for $3,000 a month. You know, so now's the time for us to execute that strategy. You lost your job. You need to go move in with some friends. No problem. I'm going to get a hold of my property manager buddy. We're going to get some tenants in there right away to carry that mortgage on your behalf. And until you and your sweetheart are ready again to move back in, it's going to be getting paid for. You know, there's no need to pay. So the reason why people are scared is because they haven't worked with the right people to say, we're putting safety nets on everything. Yeah. Safety net. I'm not letting somebody buy a house unless we talk about the exit strategies, a safety net. And And I also don't think about real estate in 30-year form. I think of 12 months. My goal is to teach somebody how to buy a house for 12 months. If you live in the house for 13 months, you're going above and beyond. That's on you. But when you buy a primary property, you're only agreeing to buying it for 12 months. That's what owner occupancy is. It's a 12-month commitment. Whether you go VA, conventional, it doesn't matter. You sign a mortgage saying it's my primary, you live in it for 12 months. So when they're like, I think it's too expensive, it's probably because you're thinking about it for 360 months. You're thinking about a 30-year commitment. I'm thinking about a 12-month commitment. So if you're a middle-aged earner, let's say, I would still not be afraid if you wanted to go buy a house in the Dominion, right? Let's say that instead of making a $3,000 mortgage payment, you're like, you know what? The Dominion's $6,000 a month, $7,000. If you can do it for 12 months, because I already had Eli run the rental market analysis, there's renters standing by for $7,000. I'm putting safety nets on everything. So how can I buy a house for 12 months and then have somebody make the next 29 years of payments is the name of the game. And that's too long of a title. Otherwise, I would call my seminar that. How to buy a house for 1 year and then let somebody else pay for it for 29 years seminar. That's how we do it.
And you teach a lot of that because one of the biggest things I want to talk to is y'all do these seminars here in the building. What is that, like once a month or every other month, or?
It's once a month. So we usually do them on the first Saturday of the month from 10 a.m. to noon. They're free. They're military members, real estate agents. This one coming up this
Isn't that
Saturday.
Saturday, right?
Yeah.
That's a builder
Which
event.
is what day is this Saturday?
4th?
Is it the 4th or the 5th?
I want to say it's the 4th.
It's the 4th? Okay, good, man. Let's say the 1st already.
Today's the 1st, yep.
Golly.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Happy New Year. So, yeah, we got one coming up the 4th. It's a builder summit. We're going to have about 10 different builders coming through. And we stagger this. We do two months in a row where it's just the VA home loan benefit, how to build wealth using it. And then the third month, we do one with builders because I'm starting to see a lot more veterans wanting to buy new construction. So we'll put out information in regards to how to utilize your VA to go new construction. Some builders here that will talk about their products, you know, how much can you actually get for your BAH, et cetera. So it'll be fun. You should come check it out if you don't already have if you haven't signed up yet. I'm sure we'll put the link somewhere.
Yeah, I'll put everything out. And
Thanks,
this will be out. This will be out next Monday, so it'll be after your event. But I'm gonna cut I'm gonna cut some videos for these next days to lead up towards it.
So this is in the future.
Yeah, this is in the future.
Wow. Welcome to the future, boys. Welcome to the future, Antonio. You look different. You lost weight? I did. All right. The future is exciting. Yeah.
And then, do you know when the next one will be, or y'all haven't set that up yet? So is it every Saturday, though? Every first Saturday of the month?
Every
for
first Saturday,
okay.
yeah. And I don't know if we put December out. We're usually pretty skeptical in December because of holidays and stuff
like
you know?
that. Yeah.
Everybody's at North Star Mall, except now North Star Mall's the hood. You see that last night on the news?
Dude, I don't watch the news. Wow. I watch as least news as I can.
Bro, I was
other
watching,
than like market-wise.
Yeah, you saw it, Antonio?
What
There's
happened?
A shooting again, bro. This is the third shooting at North Star Mall in like the last 2 or 3 months, bro. Like just people shooting it up.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's crazy because North Star Mall used to be the expensive mall for us, bro.
I remember that. Like, because I used to go to. I don't know if you've been here long.
Right?
I used to go to McCreeless Mall.
That was the hood. Dude, it's still the hood now, but it's now even like it was the hood. Then.
It's not a mall no more. It's a shopping center.
Okay.
But before it was a mall, my mom would take me and get dollar movies.
Let's go, Mom.
And we would get Lubies. And
Let's
that's
go,
what we
Lubies.
would do on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But the mall's gone. It's a shopping center now. But North Star Mall was like the mall.
The mall.
Like if you can't go there unless you have money.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't.
Now it's La Cantera, but now
there you go.
give it 10 years, La Cantera is gonna be the hood. You know, it's just like
we're keep moving further
and further,
Making
bro.
New Braunfels.
It's gonna, yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, man. Yeah, North Star Mall was for rich people when I was growing up. I was like, man, Alamo Heights, you know. But now, anyway, so I was watching the World Series last night. It was Halloween, you know, giving out candy, watching the World Series, and then the news came on. I saw the shooting, but anyways, yeah. So, if you're watching this and it's already after the summer, just stay tuned. Keep in touch with Eli. Eli will be in touch with kind of the seminars we have going on. The most important thing that I try to teach, whether you're a veteran or first-time home buyers, is one, you got to get around people who know what they're doing. You got to get away from people who don't know. And in San Antonio, when the majority of us don't buy real estate, you know, we have this mindset, this mentality, and I don't want to call out my Hispanic culture, but it's a lot of like machismo, right? Like, no, mijo, I already know, you know, you don't know, you know, it's like, okay, Theo, Got you. I won't teach you anything.
No, I feel that.
Yeah,
I've tried teaching some people.
It's real. And San Antonio is stubborn at times, bro.
Yeah.
And so you got to get around people who are doing it. Get away from people who aren't. The majority of the military members that I talk to, they come to me with some BS where like, oh, my dad or my uncle or my auntie bought a house and they foreclosed. And I'm like, man, that's not your story though. It doesn't need to be your story. You get around people who can set you up for success. And then, 2, you got to get the knowledge. And that's all the seminar is. It's just information. But that means nothing. The real wisdom lives in the contract, right? My goal is to get people taught at the seminar. Now you have the knowledge, and then get in the back of a real estate agent's car, and that's where you're going to get the wisdom. And the difference, like we say, between knowledge and wisdom is knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're going to get in contract. The home inspection is probably going to go wrong. You're going to have a leak. You're going to have roof issues. You're going to have plumbing issues, and you're going to start researching things. You're going to start being like, how to fix your parents are going to try to talk you out of it. And by the time you get to your second, third, fourth house, you're going to have all this wisdom. You're going to have contractors that you now know that can get up and fix things, for quarters on the dollar. And that's when you're off to the races, man. Mm-hmm. But you got to get past that initial knowledge mark where everything seems like it's going wrong.
You got to start.
You got to start, man. You got to start.
Because I was telling my Sari the other day that 2 things. In 2018, I wanted to get my real estate license. I didn't. And I waited until 2014 I wanted to get my license.
Okay.
I got it in 2019.
Yeah.
And I waited 5 years. I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
And then another thing was I wanted to start a valet trash business also back then, and I waited. Now I want to start it now. I'm just like, it's great that I'm in it now, mm-hmm. but if I would have just got in sooner, I can imagine what my life would have been like. I'm just like, I'm grateful now, but what I missed out on. I'm like, I just got to start. Yeah. I mean, I think all of us, if we could go back, I mean, I don't know a lot of entrepreneurs that usually say, man, I feel like I started right on time. It's always like, I wish I would have started. Yeah.
I wish I would have bought a lot of real estate in 1993 when the average home price in San Antonio was $165,000. And now like the median's like 380 or something.
Something's
like,
up there.
Man, we'd have some paid off mortgages that have
For
doubled
sure.
in their value, so.
Or I wish I didn't sell this, or I wish I would have bought that, or I wish I would have started this.
Telling you, man.
It's always wishes.
Always wishes.
But
so if we can't do it then the best thing we can do is do it now, And I always say this, out of the hundreds of families that we help every year buy real estate, I don't think I've ever gotten a Christmas card from any of my clients that have said, dude, you ruined my life helping me find a home. Like, it's always like, bro, I just went through my first holidays. Kids were able to, hang stockings, we were able to cook our first turkey, able to have our first Halloween party. Like, I mean, I almost wish I could just say, give me your username, give me your password to your bank accounts. I'm going to do this for you. Give me your, because I believe in it that much. But it's not fair because, I also own a lot of real estate, so it doesn't scare me anymore. There's no emotions. It's all logic. I'm not emotionally invested in the countertops or the backsplash or the cabinets. I'm logically invested in what the rental market analysis says about it, the development in the surrounding area. I'm invested in what my real estate agents are projecting, for the CMAs, et cetera. So, but we are just emotional people. So you got to get around people who are like, I respect your emotions. I understand your emotions, but let me show you the logistics of why this makes sense.
I actually just got into contract another house. And,
you did?
Yeah. Oh,
Let's
not
go.
for me. No, for my client.
Oh, for your client.
Yeah,
okay.
But I've been working with him probably for 4 months now. And every month is like, we're going to do it. And then he backs out. We're going to do it. And he backs out because he's emotional.
Yeah.
And even till now, he'll call me every other night. He's like, hey, Eli, And so I finally had to sit down with him. And I went over the exit strategies, and he's like, that makes so much sense. So he finally put it under contract, and he's like,
That's
okay,
good.
cool.
Come on.
And so he's the first person in his family to get a house.
Yeah.
Super excited, right? And we're going to close right before Christmas. So it's awesome.
I'm telling you, bro. Right now, you bringing up closing right before Christmas. It's such a cool time because, the market's usually kind of down in these seasons.
It's lower.
It's lower. People aren't really out there shopping. They're just a lot of stuff on the brain leading into the holidays. So
I'm thinking about turkey.
Come on, bro. It's November. So most contracts 30 days written, right? If you were to go into a contract today, you could still get a tree up. You can still get lights up at this point.
Yeah. We're going on the 29th.
Let's go.
Yeah, just after Thanksgiving. So
what do you got to do? You got to get pre-approved. Let me pull your credit. Let me see your 500 credit score. Don't be afraid. we've seen some horrible things on credit. That's usually one of the things that people are most embarrassed about their credit score, as if like it identifies who you are. Normally, it's just it identifies a season you went through.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we had a guy who had 100% disabled. He was 100% disabled Marine, had cancer, got discharged from the military, and he was turned down by a couple other lenders. Couldn't get it right. Credit score was like a 517. But that lender had let him go into contract because they thought that while he was in contract, they would fix a couple of things on the report, re-pull, and he'd be good to go before closing. Well, that didn't happen. So the real estate agent on that deal calls us and says, hey, can y'all look at this? And her name was Daniela Moten, like still talk to her this day. And I said, yeah, Daniela, what's going on? And she said, well, we're in contract. The lender had thought, and it just didn't work out that way. They already sold their other place, or it was a lease, but they were out of that house. And we're supposed to close in 3 weeks. We look at the credit report, and a year before then, they were missing a lot of payments. And we just said, hey, what happened in this season? The wife says, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. I had to start making sure that he went to all of his chemo treatments at the VA. Well, the chemo did so much damage to his bones that we had to, go through hyperbaric chamber process to restore the brittleness of his bones. Wow. So she was like, I was out of work even longer to go through that process with him. In other words, I did what God called me to do, which was walk with my husband in this season of his life. And because of that, missed a lot of work, missed a lot of bills. Had a lender took the time to said, hey, it's not just a score you just saw. Let's go a little bit further and figure out why this score is, because you haven't missed much in the last 12 months. This occurred in a season. Tell me about this season. Anyways, get off my soapbox. I called that family and I said, hey, we're going to close on this loan. Called our investor and said, hey, I know normally you guys want to see a 580 on a VA, but we got a 517 here. And the reason it's a 517 is the guy who gave his life, he's got 100% disability, cancer that he acquired while serving the United States Marine Corps, is being turned down by other lenders. We're not turning him down. We're getting him to closing. I need pricing for a 517 because there wasn't even interest rates associated for a 517. I need y'all to give me an interest rate, and I need y'all to get me some closing docs because we're going to closing. Dude, when we closed on them, 120-pound husband walking out of the closing room, leaning on his wife, and dude, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Wow. And so my point in saying that is it's not cut and dry on your approval process. It's not. You got to work with people who are like, hey, man, what happened here? And you got to keep it real with them. No hiding, had the wife been like, well, you see what happened was, and because we're embarrassed and we try to hide.
Make up stuff.
Make stuff up, man. She was transparent. We were able to put a plan in place, and 2 weeks later, they were able to get into that home. So
dude, that's an amazing story.
Thanks, bro. Yeah,
that's awesome.
We have that closing video. I played at times in our seminar just to remind people that your 517 doesn't identify who you are. It identifies the season you had in your life. I would lend that family money over and over and over again. I mean, because all I think about when I think of that family is commitment to our country, commitment to their service. And now that costs them something. And for that, we should be excited to close on those transactions.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest, because I met you through Nadine. And so coming over here more and more.
Shout out Nadine. Tanya, the OGs.
She tells us kind of people you are and stuff like that. And as we kept coming to like the seminars and things, we were like, man, we really like these people. We really like how they do business and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
thanks, man. Appreciate those kind words.
I appreciate you letting us hang in here.
Yeah, y'all are like residents now, man. Now that I think about it, I'm like,
I'm just waiting to get an invoice in my email.
Should I? Antonio, should we be charging for this? Because Antonio's back there, and now that I realize, because I remember I was telling you, hey man, if it's 40, because I needed Antonio last week, I just saw that.
Yeah, I was just chilling.
This goes quick.
Yes.
This goes quick.
I just let it flow.
That's a shout out to you, bro. You make it easy. You make it comfortable. But he's bored.
He's bored.
You're bored? You thought that was good? All right. You're up next.
Yeah, he is.
He is?
No, we're going to shoot some reels and stuff to get his social media going and stuff like that.
You're bringing on a 22-year-old, bro.
We try to bring on we don't, and that's the thing, we're very selective on who we bring. We want to make sure we're like-minded and stuff, but at the same time too, we want to make sure that we're not just hanging licenses. Like they're active and want to learn and grow. So we've known RG.
He's got a good attitude.
Yeah, he does.
Every time he comes in here, I like his vibe. I think, man, this is not going to be a popular comment.
He's gonna adopt you.
I'm like, get the 30-year-old, the 30-year people out. I mean, it's too long of a term, because I
kind of like a senator, like when you knew senators and stuff.
Now, trust me, there's some 30-year realtors that are still crushing it, killing it. Oh, yeah. But I'm talking about the ones that are just stuck in their, morals, don't want change. The real estate market is changing because 22-year-old RJs are coming through and bringing all these bags of tricks.
A lot of stuff is changing.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff. Actually, just a little side that whole lawsuit thing went through in Missouri.
I hadn't heard of that.
Keller Williams and NAR got sued and they're settling for $1.78 billion. Like, look it up. I'm not gonna go through all that, but look it up.
Yeah.
So like a lot of stuff is changing, and people are gonna have to adapt, and there's agents that are not. Even now, agents are falling off because it's not as easy to sell real estate like in 2020, 2021. So the agents that are staying are the agents that for the most part know what they're doing.
It's wild, dude. So, I mean, if you think about it, we're literally selling houses that we don't own. And I'm lending money that I don't have, Yeah. I mean, it's such a luxury that we have, a privilege that we have to be real estate agents, to be lenders, but there's so many different ways to blow it,
There is. There's a lot of liability.
Yeah.
A lot of, because like just small little things too, you can mess up somebody's life.
Yeah.
And it's a great responsibility that somebody trusts you enough to say, hey, here's my credit, here's my income, here's transparency, here's everything. And I want to buy a house or I want to build wealth. I'm trusting you to guide me this way. So
in some countries in the Middle East, they'll shoot you if you sell something you don't own.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
In America, they're called realtors. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Only in America. Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, again, I really do appreciate it. I think that the majority of just getting to know you a little bit more was great. And
thanks, Eli.
It gives me a little bit more respect to understand kind of the business you run.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the biggest things when me and Nadine were talking and people we partner with and people we're trying to get along to give our business to.
Yeah.
I'm 100% comfortable.
Appreciate that, bro. Know this, man. We got the fighting spirit, and so any hardships or anything you guys are working with, the easy stuff is appreciated. Don't get me wrong. We'll take the 800 credit scores, the ones that have don't. Chris just wants the stuff that's jacked up, But man, looking at the ones that, what does the Statue of Liberty say? Give them to us young, tired,
and hungry.
Give us the hungry, right? Like. There is nothing like a Vietnam veteran or a discouraged 80-year-old walking out of that closing room with tears in their eyes, and you can just feel it. Like this person has been told no for so long and has just been waiting for somebody to sit with them for a little bit, walk with them, encourage them. And Rev, dude, we're relentless. We're going to pursue you. I mean, our literal end state is until you are home, we got you. So, it is like... Yeah, you come to me with your jacked up credit, with having overdrafts in your bank account, having minus $200 in your checking. Cool. We're still walking to your home. It's just you're not going to be a 30-day project. You're going to be a 65-day, or you're going to be a 12-month, or you're going to be But the moment you tell me you want to buy a home, until you get in that home, we got you.
That's
all the
awesome.
way.
Yeah, and I've done that with Steven. He keeps following up on people and was like, hey, man, we talked. I want to get you going, stuff like that. So that's why I like working with Steve.
Yeah. That's good, bro.
But yeah, well, again, guys, thank you so much for hanging with us. Again, this is Chris. We're at Rev Mortgage, and we're going to be having the seminar on the first Saturdays of the month, but I'll keep it updated in the description. But other than that, thanks so much for hanging with me, man.
Good to be here, bro.
Right.
God bless y'all.
Bye.